So welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm still at Luxe and I learned something new today. They actually have a truck division. I have Corey here who knows everything about that.
Hello.
And he's gonna walk you through his process and what he does here at Luxe.
Sure, so welcome everyone. I am Corey, like Justin said. I'm with the Body Works. We have kind of a two-prong attack here on the way we do these. We have our beds that we can put on your truck, any dual rear wheel truck, starting with the 3500 pickup, all the way up to the Freightliner M2106s that we do. There's certain cab to axles that we do it on, but they all would be dual rear wheel trucks. This is a very good representation. This is our display bed of kind of a half and half. One side's finished, all painted with the bed liner and everything. You can see there the hitch in it. And then we actually display it with the bed being unfinished on this side. So the raw aluminum, you can see all the construction there, just like if you were coming to the shop to actually see the process here. You can see all the welds, the raw construction of the compartments and everything inside. This is very well optioned out, just like our Luxe truck is. So we also do a turnkey truck. We'll look at that here in a minute. A lot of these options, like the rigid lights and things, aren't standard with it. We started about 27,000 installed, painted to match the truck with our bed, and then we can kind of go from there. This silver Ram over here, this 22 Ram 5500, is one of our turnkey trucks. So we actually order in the truck, do the upfit. It's very specific on the options that we offer on the turnkey trucks. And we put the Kelderman air ride suspension front and rear. We put all the rigid lights that we looked at. We put some nice lights for entry underneath the cab there. They're marker lights, turn signals as well. We order them all as limiteds. Completely optioned out, really everything that you could possibly need and want for our application. We don't do things like ambulance prep and different wiring packages like that, but we're with dual alternators, all aluminum wheels, both factory fuel tanks. That works with our upfit. And then we allow some customizations with the compartment in the center there. Basically, we can do a smaller compartment with a small fuel tank. We can do the large coffin door, as I've dubbed that, the large compartment there. Or we can do a 114-gallon fuel tank. The air ride hitch comes standard. Truck comes with a spare tire. Everything that you see on this truck is all a standard option for our Luxe truck. We're taking orders currently for 2023s. We're going to offer those in white, silver, as you see here, black, and dark gray, like a metallic gray. If you get your order in before we actually order the chassis, you could actually pick your color, what you want color-wise. We just require a down payment for them. And we estimate we should be in the 140 to 145 range for one of these turnkey 4-wheel drive diesel limiteds.
So why is this important for you guys? Why is it important that Luxe does all this for you? So if you don't know this, it is super hard to build this truck at a dealership. Most dealers have no clue about cab and chassis trucks. And so having someone like Corey go in, he's already negotiated a price. He knows the guys there, and they know what he's looking for each truck. So something like this is going to require a cab and chassis 9 times out of 10. So Corey, can you kind of talk to that too? Like,
sure.
How hard or easy is it for you to go into a dealership, they know you,
right,
and order a truck?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Justin brought up a lot of good points there with as far as the way you're speccing out this truck. We do list all the options that we order these with on the Luxe Haulers website. And so you can actually go there and see the codes that we've worked with the dealer to get these chassis ordered. You're going to want to get the rear end gear for the max towing package. You're going to want the max gross vehicle weight rating, because when you're talking, especially if one of our Luxe units, you're talking about a heavy pin weight. You're talking anywhere from 4,200 to 5K plus, depending on how it's set up with solar and the batteries, fuel tanks. It just depends what you have going on. So one of these is going to give you that payload that you need and the gross combined weight rating, especially when you're dealing with our bed. Our bed weighs more than a factory pickup bed is. I get that question all the time. Well, will my pickup be able to pull this? You can use a dually pickup to haul one of our Luxes. It's just very close on the payload typically. And especially when you go to our bed and then you add a fuel tank and then you add stuff in the compartments and then fill it up with everybody in the truck. So we've gone to the dealer, we've worked with the dealers to pick out the max gross vehicle weight rating for these chassis is 19.5. That is because that is the max you can be before you get into a federal excise tax, which our Freightliners actually do get into that, where they have a higher gross vehicle weight rating, and that's because those trucks weigh more, and by the time you build that truck, it doesn't have the payload on paper to haul something like a Luxe. It just wouldn't have the payload anymore. So we've already figured out what we need to have for the payload. We've figured out what we need for the gross combined weight rating, and these trucks do an excellent job. Right now, the Ram 5500 is the best thing available in a pickup size, not having to jump into like a Freightliner and not being borderline with a pickup, especially with our bed. You're just gonna run out of payload.
Yeah, and something else that they do that you mentioned is they did do a Kelderman suspension setup on this truck. I'll be honest, I love my Rams, but they ride like trash in this segment. In the 5500, this is what you're going to want. And it has rental shocks. Now, as far as if someone wants that option, if someone actually bought a trailer from you guys and they bought a truck, would you still kind of set this up for them through Bodyworks and Kelderman?
Yeah, absolutely. So if they brought their truck, for sure, we can do all that as well. This all comes standard on the Turnkey truck. Like Justin said, the ride on these things is horrendous. One of the awesome things about the Kelderman Air Ride, not only does it make the ride better, which is really obviously what we're trying to do, the icing on the cake for our applications, especially when you're hooking up, is you can dump the rear suspension. So I would sure think when you're hooking up your coach, especially there's not a lot of room for the spare tire when we're doing this. So spare tire could go in the coffin door. It'll fit in there. Then you're giving up space. So you can put it back here, but then it is very close to this pin height. So what you could do is, not messing with the pin height of the coach, is you could back in and be high over the spare tire and then stop once the pin has cleared the spare tire, and then air the suspension back up and then fit right into your pin. The compressors are going to kick on. They're going to make up the air for the system. The Luxe trucks, we do a dual compressor setup with dual 3-gallon air tanks. So you have 6 gallons of onboard air. The dual compressors. We put an air chuck in the rear compartment so you can actually provide your own hose and pump up like a tire or something. The other really nice thing I should have showed you when it's dumped, actually when we're talking with our bed, is it makes it easier to get in and out of like these top compartments. Now they've raised this lower down about 4 or 5 inches. It makes it easier to get in there. It also makes it easier to step up on the back of the truck to get in it up to the center compartment or something with the hitch. So it just basically gives you a easier step into it as well.
Good stuff. So again, all that is a lot, it's complicating, and Luxe already provides this for you guys. So if you want to buy your truck and your trailer, if you're just getting ready to retire and you want to go ahead and go in full time, this is how you do it. This is the right truck, it's the right setup. As you mentioned, regular 3500 could pull this, but the payload part of it is where a lot of people miss the numbers at. So having a 19.5 GVWR is going to allow you to have as much payload as you would ever want in a truck like this.
A truck like this, typically, this is going to weigh about 10,700 pounds right now, the way it is, all upfit. When you add fuel, it's going to change a little bit. So I say normally, once everybody's in it, fuel's in it, you're going to have around 8,500 pounds for payload. The best, usually with like the new dualies, you're going to end up like 5,200, 5,300 pounds payload.
Especially with this trim level.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So you don't know what your truck's going to be until it's actually built to know exactly what it is, because it's all based off of what the actual truck weighed when it's completed on the line. Yeah. Talking about the Kelderman, whether it's installed on our Turnkey truck and you bought it all wrapped up and done, there's not some kind of inflated, bloated price, let's say, with that. It's the same price whether you call me and you have your own truck or if I'm providing the truck. So the options are the same across the board. So this upfit that we've done to this chassis currently, if you have your own Ram 5500, you're like, oh, I missed the boat on a Turnkey truck, but I have my own truck, we'd be like around 51,000 is what it'd be installed. Nice. The Kelderman suspension specifically, like this application here, is around 13,000 installed because it has a dual compressor and dual tank, so it adds about $1,000 to it.
Do you guys install it here in house?
Yes, correct. Okay. Yep, we do the Kelderman air rides, we do liquid spring, we do the VB air suspensions. Gotcha. So we do a lot of different suspension systems.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, so like I said, if you're selling the house and you want the best RV, you want the best truck setup possible, I think Luxe has it all for you here. This is a turnkey operation. I mean, their attention to detail it speaks for itself when you walk into their showroom. You can tour here too if you like, and you can always reach out to Corey. I'll put his information here in the video for you guys. That way, if you want to reach out to him, maybe to purchase a Kelderman for your truck or do any kind of upfits, or just need help ordering a truck like this, because again, this is really hard to do.
Yeah.
And some dealerships don't know how to do this stuff correctly. So
I take calls every week about, hey, what kind of truck should I get? I love those calls. I want to make sure, no matter at the end of the day, whether you're my customer or not, if you're calling in, I want to give you good information on what you're going to do moving forward. The worst case scenario is you buy the wrong truck and look to get it upfitted and then talk to me and you're like, oh, I wish I'd have known this before I spent $100 grand on a pickup and I really want one of those beds. I'm going to probably, I'm going to tell you that's not a good idea with our Luxe fifth wheels. Now, it's your truck at the end of the day, what you want to do. If you're looking at maybe one of the dual axle, like tandem axle elites or something, one of our smaller units, then we could look at probably putting a bed on a pickup, because you don't need as much payload because the pin weight's 1,000 pounds lighter.
Right, it's good stuff. But hey man, thank you so much, Corey, for doing this. This is amazing. Again, that was my first time actually seeing a Kelderman in action, and you know, just like he said, you could lower down the bed easily, get it hooked up to the truck. It almost works like Ram's factory air suspension in a sense, only a little bit better in my opinion, and it does help the ride front and rear too, so that's a good thing.
The big difference between the air rides, I've driven the 3500s to the factory air ride, and they do ride great. The thing to understand with the Ram 5500 is there are so many leaf springs in the rear and they just don't give. And so the ride's it's not even close from the factory, and it doesn't have air. But what we're doing with the Kelderman air ride is it's an actual 4-link, and it's only on air suspension, then it has a track bar. So there's no leaf spring in the equation anymore, and there's no coil spring in the front. So you're all on air everywhere, not just the helper bag that the 3500 would have from the factory.
Good stuff. Thanks, Corey.
Yep,
really appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Full disclosure, when I rolled up at Luxe that day and I met Aaron and Corey, all I told them was that I have a YouTube channel where I do a lot of truck and RV reviews. Never talked to Corey about Payload, any of that stuff. So when he said that he likes to pick the Ram 5500, he also does the Ford F450s, the Freightliners, and I think he'll do the Chevy 5500 too. It's just not as much as the other two. He says that, you know, he prefers that because he wants the payload for the pin weight of their trailers. I was applauding him in my head because not a lot of dealers talk about that kind of stuff. And so that just, again, it speaks to the integrity of that company. And I was just very blown away that day. Like, really, like, it's not about them just letting me do the reviews, because I don't tell you guys this all the time. People do say no. You know, especially like right now, a lot of dealers say no just because, especially with me traveling, they don't know me, number one, but number two, a lot of them say no because they don't really need the publicity in their head. Like, we don't need the publicity because we're going to sell a truck anyway, so we don't care if you do a review or not. But nevertheless, you know, for a company like that, $300,000 RV, I told them up front, I'm not buying today. I'm not buying really at all. I'm just here just to do some videos on your product because, you know, I see them and I like them, and I just never had a chance to really walk through one. They spent hours with me that day, and I promise you this, the day will come when I'll be able to go and write a check for Luxe, and they're going to get my business. Like, I don't even need a Luxe, and I'll still get one just because of what they did, because I would love to build a Ram 5500 at some point. For me, it's all about customer service. And if you want to feel special, I mean, going to buy an RV, you won't always feel that instant gratification at every dealership because it's just a numbers game for some people. With Luxe, it's not about a numbers game. It's about building a quality product for you to enjoy and for you to actually use full time. And so you get that when you buy from them. And if you don't understand the truck buying process, you don't have to deal with it. They'll do it for you. So while you wait at home, you know, a lot of people are getting ready to retire. A lot of people are selling their houses and they just want to get an RV. Luxe is the one-stop shop. And trust me when I say this, when the time is right, I am going to go get me a Luxe. Like, there's no other RV on my list right now that I want, because after seeing what I saw that day, it's the little things for me. Like, I'm very picky, which is why I always build my own cars. And yeah, I want to build something that I want the way I want it, and you get that with Luxe. And whether you buy a truck or an RV from them, the process is simple and they make it fun. So I hope this video was helpful. you know, if you are out here looking at fifth wheels, I do have a Weight Watchers truck edition, as I call it, and I do pick trucks. I'm gonna start doing more videos. That's what I'm talking about right now, but I'll start doing more videos on that where I show you a truck and then I'll do a walkthrough on RV. That way you can have a better understanding of the payload and the pin weight, things like that. But thanks again. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys soon.